All right, this is the Algebra 1 Unit 6 Lesson 7 video. And before I start, just a quick word about the next few lessons in the Algebra 1 Unit 6. 7, 8, 9, and 10 all are going to deal with solving quadratic equations. And we're going to go through each type of solution or how to solve. But at the end, and I'll go ahead and tell you this up front, on the test, there are questions where it kind of forces you to answer it in a certain way, but we're going to talk about how to basically use the graphing method as kind of the fallback method to either make sure you got the right answer using other methods, or in some cases to just get the answer using graphing. And part of that is because if you're transferring into Premiere, or if you haven't done your first half of algebra in a while, there's going to be some skills here that are covered in the first half of the course that are more than we can cover in these lessons, and you'll have to do some reviewing of those concepts, and I can direct you to some videos and some other resources to help you with that. But I'm going to try to kind of get us through this relying heavily on the graphing method because it's kind of the most reliable way to solve. So let's go ahead and open lesson 7. First things first, lesson 7 introduces this concept called the zero product property. We would have covered this in the first half of the course, but the zero product property is, in its simplest kind of way of thinking about it, is just that if I have two numbers that multiply to make 0, there's only one way for that to be true, and that is that something is 0. One of these two numbers is 0. Even if I have multiple numbers, a times b times c times d, however many numbers I have, no matter what, I know that if things are multiplying to make 0, then one of two things is true. Either a is equal to 0 or b is equal to 0. So this idea is called the zero product property. And the zero product property is helpful because when we're dealing with quadratic functions, I'll just do an example here. When I'm dealing with a quadratic function, I cannot solve this using kind of basic algebra. Like I can't subtract 6 and rearrange this to get x by itself. It won't work that way. And mainly because the main reason here is because of this 2, that there is a second degree. And so that's kind of an important concept, is to understand that like the reason we can't do this is because we have this x squared. So we need some other way. And the way we're going to do it is we are going to somehow transform this into a multiplication problem. The reason we're going to do that is that if we have a multiplication problem like we see here, then I can then apply the zero product property to find the two solutions. So I'm not going to go into all the detail because, again, this is covered in the first half of the algebra course. But when I factor this, I'm doing the opposite of the FOIL method. In the sense I'm doing unfoil. And I am trying to find the things that multiply to make this expression. So without getting into too much detail, I know that x times x is going to give me x squared. I know that 3 times 2 will give me 6. And yes, there are other options to make 6. 3 times 2 will give me 6. 6 times 1 will give me 6. But only plus 3 and plus 2 will give me this expression. And again, if I wanted to verify that, I would just FOIL this out. And if I did that, I would end up with the original expression. I'm going to erase that, though, so we don't have that messing up our ideas. So this is what I would get if I factored this. And the nice thing about that is that then I can apply the zero product property, because the zero product property says that if these two things multiply to make 0, then one of two things has to be true. Either x plus 3 is equal to 0, or x plus 2 is equal to 0. So if x plus 3 equals 0, then if I solve that, I get x equals negative 3. And if I solve x plus 2 equals 0, I get x equals negative 2. And so these would be the two solutions to that equation. Now let's jump over to Desmos and let's graph y equals x squared plus 5x plus 6. And if we zoom in, you'll see that indeed, when I graph that, and remember, solutions refers to the things where they cross the x-axis, it crosses the x-axis at negative 3 and negative 2, which is what we just found here. So that is how we know, because we know that when this comes in and intersects the x-axis, it intersects at these 2 points, which are negative 3 and negative 2. And that's where that whole thing comes from. So that is basically how the factoring method of solving this works. So let's close this one. And I will pause this video while I open another drawing. All right, so let's jump over to the lesson. So that's just an introduction of this zero product property. So they're going to take us through this process of factoring. And really what we're going to do is I am going to walk you through the solutions to the problems in this lesson. I won't always do this, but I think today we are just going to, like I said, we're going to focus on understanding the connection between factoring and the graph, and we're going to draw connections. So first things first, take number 1. You're going to do that one on your own. The steps are written in the examples right here, so you're just going to have to do that one on your own. So let's jump down and look at, and we can kind of use common sense as well in some of these, but let's talk through each one of these. So I'm going to write this down on a new drawing. Just do new drawing. Okay. We have 2x squared minus 4x. 2x squared minus 4x equals 16. All right. Step 1 says to put in standard form. So let's talk about what that means. Standard form refers to the form that has ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. In other words, everything is on one side of the equation, and then there's just nothing on the other side. So here's how this one works. So let's rewrite our equation. 2x squared minus 4x equals 16. And we see that the x squared and the bx, ax squared and bx are already over here. So we don't need to do anything with those, but we do need to move this 16 over. And remember, in algebra, when we want to move something, we do the opposite. So I'm going to subtract 16 from both sides. And I end up with 2x squared minus 4x minus 16 equals 0. So now we're in standard form. So let's go look over here and see what we have. We have, there it is, answer choice F is going to be the standard form. Then it says factor. And so they kind of pack a lot into that one step. But they tell us right here, factor a GCF first if possible, and then factor a trinomial. So I'm going to talk through what that means. But if you look down here, really the only answer choices, we've already used F, the only answer choices that really make sense are either C or E. And E really doesn't make sense at all. So we know, I mean, common sense, honestly, C is the answer. So I'm going to go ahead and put that, but I'll walk us through a little bit of how we get that. But you can always verify that this is the answer by actually graphing both. So let me show you. We know that the standard form is this. So let's go type 2x squared minus 4x minus 16. Oops. 2x squared minus 4x minus 16. Okay, zoom out so we can see the whole graph, okay? And then let's go and let's check if maybe C is the correct answer. So we're going to type that in, 2 parentheses x plus 2, x minus 4. 2, x plus 2, x minus 4. And you'll notice those two graphs, I hope I'm not moving too fast, but there's green and blue. They are both the same graph. That tells me that this is the correct form. So C is the correct factored form. So you see how you use common sense here and process of elimination. Then it says use the zero product property. Well, zero product property is where we take a factored thing like what we have in C and we split it up into individual examples like we did in our previous drawing. So let me go back. And remember here we took this and we moved it down into this. So how did I do that? We factored. So this is what we're looking for actually we're looking for this all the way down here. So we're taking it from the factored form, which is like we have here, x plus 3, x plus 2, and we're moving it into this step. This is the zero product part of this. Okay, so this is the kind of thing we're looking for. So if we go back over here, it's clear there's only really one place where we have separate individual factors, and that is in G. X plus 2 equals 0, that was this one. X minus 4 equals 0, that was this one. So obviously G is the answer. So see, I'm not really even having to do much work here. I'm just kind of using common sense to get through. Solve each equation. In other words, do what I did here. Solve. This is the solve part. So x plus 3, I solved it down to x equals minus 3, and then x equals minus 2. So we need something where there's two x equals. Let's go over here. We have a bunch. We actually have 3 possible answers, and those are A, B, and D. Well, how can I determine which one is correct? Well, we're going to jump back to our graph, and that is where we're going to be able to find it. Because on my graph, I have solutions at -2 and 4. These are the graphs we made earlier. And so that's it. -2 and 4, and I look for those, and I see the answer choice D is our correct response. So answer choice D is going to be the solution to that equation. So your answer choice might be mixed up. I'm not actually sure. But hopefully you can follow that process. So let's keep going. Let's try to do this without really thinking through too much of the actual factoring and just kind of use our answer choices to our advantage. So write the equation standard form. Great news, it's already in standard form. So we are going to rewrite the same equation. It's already set equal to 0. So that's answer choice C. Factor. Okay, there is no GCF, but we can go down here and look at the ones that maybe, so we've already used answer choice C. But what answer choices look like factored things? The only two that are factored are A and F, because we have parentheses there. B is different because you can see that has this or statement, so that's not going to be what we're looking at. So let's just go over to Desmos. Let's close out our graphs, and let's type in our equation, x squared plus 2x minus 15, x squared plus 2x minus 15. Okay, see my equation there. And then I'm going to go and type this one, x minus 3, x plus 5. X minus 3, x plus 5. And you should be able to see those two graphs are the same. So then that one is already our answer. So it has to be answer choice A. The rest of this, zero product property, is where I take those two. Again, we found that A is the correct answer. So we take these two and we put them both equal to 0. And we see that is here in answer choice B. In fact, B is the only one that has anything that looks like the zero product property. So that one's pretty straightforward for us. And then solve each equation. We need to take those and we need to find the solutions. But again, if I hop on my graph over here, I see that I have solutions at -5 and 3. So we hop back over here, and we have negative 5 and 3. There we are right there. Answer choice G. All right, so I'm going to leave this last one for you to do on your own. Follow the basic guidelines I just talked about. Use common sense, and use the graph on Desmos to confirm which one is the correct factored form. Notice this is already set to 0. That should tell you something about number 1. And that's the end of our lesson 7 video.